Incurable positivity across the globe. It's interesting because people always ask me, Angie, about the title, Incurable Positivity, right? Like incurable. Like you usually hear incurable when it comes to something negative, like a disease or something like that. But this idea of having incurable positivity, what does it mean to you to have incurable positivity?
This is a really, I'm so glad you asked this question because sometimes people think um, that this is something that is easy for people like you, people like me. I know people say to you all the time, "You're always so positive." It's like you wake up in the morning and you have rainbows over your head and fairies dancing around your bedroom. I don't know. And the reality
I
is,
wish.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't we all? Don't we all? But that's not life. That's not the way it goes. The way it goes is it's an insatiable desire. That's how I describe it. It's not that I get it right perfectly 100% of the time, 24 hours a day, but it's an insatiable desire to be a positive person, to bring this energy to everything I do and to the people that come in contact with me. I want you to come in contact with me and be changed in a positive way by that experience. Whether I'm in a meeting, whether I'm helping someone with a book, whether I'm, just hanging out with my family, I want to be that positive influence in everything I do. And so really that's what I see when I see incurable positivity. And that title was a gift to us. We can't even take credit for it, right? That was a gift to us by one of your friends, if I recall.
Yeah, it was my best friend. We were talking about this last year when I was just, it was just starting to percolate about writing this book. And, she said, you just have this incurable positive, like, mindset. Like, it's like positivity is just like something like you carry around with you all the time, right? And so incurable is always, disease, something bad, something negative, but it's like incurable is like you can't get rid of it. It doesn't leave you. And she said, you know, you have like incurable positivity. Like that's the thing that you carry around with you all the time. And I was like, can I take that for the book title? And she was like, do it. Literally, because I don't even know if we were talking about the book. We were just having a conversation. And
Yeah.
she literally just said, you just carry it around like you can't get rid of it. And I was like, that's true. I carry positivity around with me like I can't get rid of it. Because that's what incurable is. It means you can't get rid of it. Like it literally doesn't leave you. And so that I really love that you just said that people think you wake up with rainbows and unicorns and all of that stuff, right? Because, if you actually knew my life, what people see, what me people do in business and success, like with you and your businesses, but if you actually know the story of how we got here, and I know that you hear that from people all the time, but there's something to be said for that because every obstacle, every hurdle that you face, everything you've gone through, you have two ways of like really dealing with it. You either look at the lesson that you're learning and what insights can you gain from it to become a better person, or you just take it on and blame everything and blame everybody, and then it just becomes the whole other side of it, and you just don't take any accountability and responsibility for it. For me, my life, I've always been that person that takes full responsibility for what's happening around me and go, okay, what is the lesson I'm trying to learn? What are you trying to tell me so that I can get these insights and grow into a better person? And that's because I truly believe in the law of cause and effect. Like for me, the law of cause and effect guides my life more than anything else in my life because I know that every cause there is an effect, right? If this happens today, the outcome is going to be this. And so when I started to learn all about this a couple of decades ago, this idea of the law of cause and effect, I know what I think about has an effect. And it's not just affecting me, it's affecting everybody because we're all connected.
That's right.
So that's right. So that's that idea of like, why do I carry incurable positivity? Like, I just can't get rid of it. It's because I feel like I have a responsibility that's beyond me, that's bigger than me, that literally creates more. And I know because I've seen it in my life. If I'm having a bad week and I'm negative and I'm stressed out, I just attract more of that in my life. I'm sure this happens to many of you that are watching this, right? Like you just haven't about, and it just gets worse. You just get on this spiral. But when you can start becoming more thoughtful around what you're thinking about, things can start to change. And that leads us into step two, being thoughtful and contemplating your thoughts more often. And this is something that people really need to pay attention to, because how many times, Angie, really, before you started doing this practice, would you sit and contemplate and become aware of what you were actually thinking?
Oh, almost never. Almost never. I would describe my existence as a ping pong in a wind tunnel. I was just bouncing here and there, putting out fires, dealing with whatever happened. I was certainly not in control. There's no way I could say I was in control. And it's not that I had a bad life. I had a successful publishing company. I have fantastic family, but I didn't have the kind of life I wanted. And I had no idea how to get there, right? And it never occurred to me that it was my inability or my lack of knowledge, my ignorance of the fact that my thoughts needed to be examined all the time. I need to be thinking about what I'm thinking about. I need to be looking at them, writing them down. I need to be, making some choices and decisions about how to move forward. And until you examine them and accept them and kind of lay them out in front of yourself, you don't really spend any time working on how to think more positively on a consistent basis. And I have to tell you this story. This is so crazy. So everyone knows that I live like in the middle of nowhere. Like I think we have one gas station. Yeah, we have one gas station in our town. That's it. Like I do not have a grocery store. There's no skating rink, movie theater, nothing. Not there. We only have a hardware store in our town, right? Middle of nowhere. So every week I go into Dallas or into someplace close to Dallas, and I get, all the stuff I want, right? And I get all the food that I could not have. I just get myself a nice meal for Friday and a nice meal for Saturday, a nice meal for Sunday. I came home with my wonderful little bags. I'd gotten some Asian food and I'd gotten some Thai food. And every single one of them was the wrong order. Every single one of them was wrong. Right now, I mean, like I have to drive at least an hour if I want halfway decent stuff. If I want the good stuff, 2 hours, right? Every single thing I had brought home for my little special meals for the weekend was wrong. And I just watched myself spiral out of control over food and over these orders being wrong. I opened the first one and it was like someone else's order altogether. The second one was missing anything that made it work, the wrong salad dressing, the wrong sauce. It was just all wrong. And my kids, oh, God bless them. My daughter said to me, Mom, this is not incurable positivity. This is not like, aren't you supposed to be, don't you just love when your kids throw you something
Yeah.
in the face like that? It was so funny. But then I thought about that thought later after we laughed about how ridiculous it was, because look at where I am. I'm blessed that, I can buy anything I want to eat, any meal I want. There are people in the world who won't eat today, right? They won't have a
Yeah.
meal at all. I'm very, very blessed. So I went into a place of gratitude first, but then I went into the place of thinking about my thoughts and just thinking about, what comes up for me that got me so off track. And I was able to trace that back to some of the other things that I had been struggling with. And it was really an eye-opening experience. And that's what incurable positivity is. It's not about getting it perfectly right 100% of the time. It's about those incremental steps. We use the word shift, and that is a big word. We're not trying to make leaps and bounds like Superman here. We're just trying to make shifts, just small course correction along the path. And you will find, you look back a year from now and go, wow, I'm a completely different person.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Yeah, because you can just spiral. But, the key thing here is that you pause. I always say, Angie, pause. I use that all the time now with people, but
Yes.
Angie, pause. And like you started to pay attention. And that I think is about what being thoughtful and contemplating your thoughts often is. Like when you feel a resistance, or when you feel anxious, or when you feel you're getting derailed from moving forwards with something, to start to pay attention to like what you're actually thinking about in that moment. Because then when you start to identify that, you start removing yourself, being a bit more objective, and then it doesn't take over your whole body, your whole emotion, and then you start spiraling like down. I had a moment yesterday where I'm working with a new marketing company on my leadership business, and she said, you're going to hit resistance, and like when you do, you need to like sit down with your journal, you need to note it down. And I was like, me, resistance, I'm very aware of resistance. Yeah, I know what's coming up. Anyway, so I was doing this activity. I opened up Instagram, which, we're all like reading Instagram and listening to social media. And I literally had this moment where I started to feel like I didn't want to do what she was asking me to do. I started to have this resistance in this moment of like,
Mm,
I can't do that. Who do I think I am? What? That's not cool. Like when I see other people do it, they don't make it look cool. What? I don't want to be out there doing this and that. And it was really interesting because I actually stopped myself and said, hold on, I'm having resistance to something I'm being asked to do, something where I'm being trained, being coached on something, and I'm having resistance, like thinking that I can't do it. So instead of thinking, oh, I can't do it, I don't want to do it, that's not me, I literally paused, did the Angie pause, and then was like being more contemplative about the thoughts that were coming up, and then
yes.
asking myself, what are these thoughts? Are they here to serve me? And actually, can I gain any insights from the thoughts of the resistance that I'm having? And what insights I got was incredible when I just asked myself that question and journaled it out. Because I do think that this work requires, the being thoughtful and contemplating requires two things. For you to start journaling and writing when you're in moments of resistance and not feeling so good and feeling like you're anxious, or not achieving what you want, or not being able to move past something. And two, meditation, without a doubt, because meditation is the practice of focusing your mind. That's all it is. People say all the time, oh my God, meditation, I can't do that. I've got too much going on in my brain. I'm like, well, then you should be doing it. You're not trying to empty your brain. You're trying to focus your brain, right? You're trying to focus your
Yes.
mind. And so that exercise yesterday, literally what came up for me was comparison. I'm an identical twin. I was born into comparison. Comparison is the stealer of joy. That's the definition. Like, so I was talking to my best friend about it, and she Googled it, and she was like, that comparison is this, it's the definition of stealing joy. It's like totally the opposite. And we're learning that all day, right? When we're swiping, swiping, swiping. But I had that experience early on because I was compared to somebody my whole life that looked like me, sounded like me, but I thought was smarter than me. So that thought, that kind of programming, that resistance, if I wasn't paying attention and I hadn't got these practices in place where, like, you can contemplate when it comes up and step back and think about it, then I would not have been able to move past that. And it would have derailed me from achieving something that I want to achieve without even me realizing it. And then in a year, I'd be in the same place going, why haven't I been able to move forwards? So powerful when you actually start to figure this out. So powerful.
That's amazing. And, forgive the shameless plug here, but we have a journal coming out to match or to be the companion to Incurable Positivity. And I don't say that purely from a marketing perspective. I say that from a perspective of being able to have something that is already designed for you to contemplate these thoughts and guide you in like evaluating what it is, because we don't resist our thoughts. We don't teach that you should resist those negative thoughts. They're real, they're there, they're not going to go away if you just simply try to push them off, or I'm just going to, as you say, like empty my mind. They don't go away. In fact, as you resist them, you cause them to persist, right? What you
Yep.
resist persists, and
Yep.
sometimes they grow, they get bigger because they're demanding your attention and you're refusing to give them attention because you're trying to be this wonderfully positive person. So what we teach is go ahead and contemplate them, deal with them. That thought is trying to tell you something. It's trying to alert you. It's like the canary in the coal mine. But we're going to talk about in the next show what to actually do to move away from that thought. and move to something else. But you have to be real with what your thoughts are trying to tell you and stay there for a moment. We don't wallow because that's a different thing. But yeah, to give it a moment and allow that to teach you, let it be instructive. And as we say in the book, that this ability to contemplate your thoughts, really, that is the basis of the transformation. It
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah,
just
yeah.
I'm going to be positive, woo woo, I'm positive. This is the work. This is the hard part for people who think, oh, this is all fluff. Let me just tell you, this is the work. This is really where you put in the time and you reap the reward because you're willing to do what most people won't because they're busy all day long, right? They're moving, 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 moving. They're going from this to that. They're on their phone. They're driving. They're commuting, whatever. They're not stopping for even a moment to contemplate their thoughts. They go from the time they wake up to the time they go to sleep, and then they pass out and start it all over again. We're saying, let's just pause for a moment. Let's just pause for a moment and say, what is instructive about this particular thought? And when you do that, the thought loses power. You gain the power. It's like a shift of power from the thought back to you. And then you have the energy to do what's next to move to a better thought, a higher thought, a more transformative thought.
Love it. And there's an activity in this chapter actually, which I always love to do in workshops. So when I do hold my leadership workshops, right, with managers, I always have them do this exercise to get that awareness. And I'm like, you can literally do this in 60 seconds any day, any moment in the day, just to check in on where you're at. And it literally takes you to close your eyes for 60 seconds and then use a timer, right? Put your 60 seconds on your cell phone so that it beeps, and then take 3 deep breaths and tell your mind to relax. Just relax, relax, relax. That's like NLP. It's like, I can never say that word, but NLP, I'll just stick with the acronym because I can't say
Yeah,
it.
let's stick with
But
the letters.
literally, right, when you start doing that, this is studied, this is proven. When you actually start doing that and talking to yourself, you'll actually start to relax. And then let your mind wander. Don't try and control it, just let it wander. And then after those 60 seconds, open your eyes and write down the first 3 thoughts that come to mind. This is a great way to just start to contemplate and become more aware. When I do that in a room of leaders, Angie, it's incredible because there's like, it just proves like how many thoughts we're all having and the difference in all the thoughts that everybody's having. Some of like what I've got to eat for dinner, picking up my kid, where's my vacation, I'm not feeling so good right now, whatever it is. But it's a really great practical way just to start this process, right, of contemplating your thoughts. And meditation I can talk about all day, but we are going to go into the next show. We're going to wrap this one up and get to the next step so we can start to give you more information, more practical activities of like how to really start to do this work. Like Angie said, it is work, but it's such good work when you start doing it. And it's not too hard. It's very minimal. Like that's a 60-second activity, but we're going to get into that into the next step.
Awesome. I can't wait to see you guys there. Stick with us. Take a moment to leave us a comment. We need to hear your feedback. What are you struggling with? What are you dealing with? What thoughts do you have that you have had repeatedly for years, over and over and over, and have kept you stuck or kept you from really achieving or accomplishing the things in your life that you want, or just the peace, right? Just the joy and the happiness that you deserve. Share those things with us because that's how we know what you need to hear. That's how we know what we need to share with you going forward. So make sure you subscribe to us. That way you'll always be notified. Doesn't cost you anything. And you're connected to our community, this growing community of incredibly positive people. So we look forward to seeing you guys on the next show.
All right. See you there.